Good evening, everybody. Welcome and thank you for hanging out for a little while for us.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to begin this month's meeting with a short presentation from Alan Yu from Cullen and Danowski, who is our external auditor. He's going to speak about our audit for the last school year.
Thank you for that introduction. My name is Alan Yu. I am one of the audit partners of the firm, Cullen Danowski. The school district is required by state law to have their annual financial statements audited by an independent CPA. The Board of Education appointed my firm to be the auditor of your financial statements. So we're known as the external auditor, as opposed to internal auditors, which your district also has, and their focus is on your internal controls. Our focus is on the audit of your annual financial statements. We have completed that audit, and we have actually just met earlier with the audit committee, which is comprised of your school board members, plus a community member. I think there are 2 community members. Tonight there was only 1 who was able to make it to attend. So we went over the results of the audit. I've also answered questions from the audit committee. So I'm here to provide a summary presentation about the audit results. So first and foremost, we're able to issue what's called an unmodified opinion about your district's financial statements. That means your district's financial statements were prepared in accordance with accounting rules and accounting standards, and that they are free of material misstatements. We also perform our testing about your district's internal control over financial reporting and compliance with laws and regulations. Happy to report to you that we're also issuing a clean opinion about those areas. So there are no reportable findings on internal controls over financial reporting or on your compliance with laws and regulations. Financially, for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2022, your district's general fund, which is your main operating fund, did have an operating loss of a little over $1.7 million, which means your district had to use your available fund balance to pay for some of the 21-22 fiscal year expenditures. So your district has some reserves available to you, which you did budget to use, and you did use those reserves towards paying for those expenditures as well. So your total fund balance has decreased to about $16.1 million from the previous fiscal year. We did see increases in revenues, primarily from state aid. The property tax levy, as well as payment in lieu of taxes, did also go up by about close to $800,000. The state aid accounted for most of the additional state aid accounted for most of the increase in the total revenues compared to the previous fiscal year. On the expenditure side, the total spending also increased compared to the previous fiscal year by almost $4.8 million. Total expenditures was close to $66.1 million. And the increases were primarily in payroll went up by about 2.9%, or roughly about $820,000. Debt service did go up because of the debt service payments on the new serial bonds that were issued to finance capital improvements. Transportation expenditures saw a significant increase of about $1.2 million. That's over a 21% increase compared to the previous fiscal year. And then employee benefits in total went up by about $730,000, primarily in health insurance premium, as well as teachers' retirement system pension contribution, required employers' contribution by your school districts. So these results are in line with our expectations. My firm does a number of external audits of school districts on Long Island, and those are primarily the similar cost drivers and increases that we've seen across the board expenses. And, that's the finances of your districts. Overall, your district did spend 96% of your total budget. So that's a very reasonable metric. And it's going back to your pre-pandemic level, where you on average has been historically spending anywhere from 94% to close to 100% of your budget in 1 year, going back about 9 years ago. So in terms of your total fund balance, you're at probably about 24% of your total spending, but that includes your reserves. Your rainy day funds, the unassigned fund balance, is actually down to about 3.5% now. By law, you're allowed to have up to 4% of next year's budget in your unassigned fund balance or your rainy day funds. But this year, because of the operating deficit that I mentioned, your total fund balance, your total unassigned fund balance is now about 3.5% for your next year's budget. Any questions about the finances?
I think we're good, right? I will make it clear to everybody that we just had an audit committee meeting, so we just asked all of our questions in that meeting with the people that we met with prior to this. Before we let Alan leave the room, does anybody here have a question for him? Does anybody in the audience? I see, can you unmute this? There's like 4 Michaels on here, so I have a Michael with his hand up on the website. You should be able to unmute and speak.
Hi. Thank you very much for, do you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, great. Thank you very much for this presentation. Just out of curiosity, given that, as you stated, the expenditures were below budget, it was 96% the budget. Where is the shortfall from the revenue that we would have expected coming from if the expenditures were below budget?
Yeah, the revenue is actually in state aid. That was the one area that came in lower than budgeted.
And thank you. How much lower did it come in?
$1.2 million, $1.3 million.
And sir,
Okay.
if you could just identify yourself.
Hi, yes, Michael Fulop.
Thank you.
Hi, yes. So if state aid is coming in 1.2 less than 1.3 million less than we expected, and the expenditures were and the shortfall, I think you said, was 1.7 million. Where's the other 400,000 shortfall coming from?
Okay, so now you're talking about budget versus actual. So you cannot look at it this way. So the 1.7 million is actual revenues versus actual expenditures. So what you described earlier is the budget shortfall of the revenues in total. The net, I didn't talk about this, but the net is $840,000, of which state aid accounted for $1.2 million of it. The spending side of the budget, you spent all but close to $2.8 million of the planned spending. Okay. So the budget savings allow the district to continue to use appropriated fund balance to balance next year's budget. So appropriated fund balance is a budget concept, which means where you have savings from the previous fiscal year's budget, now you can put it back into next year's budget to provide a cushion. Okay. So in this case, the appropriate fund balance is also a planned deficit, if you will. So basically for the 21-22 fiscal year, the district's budget plan, we did anticipate the potential of having to use up to $2.4 million of your own fund balance to balance the budget. So instead of $2.4 million, it ended up being $1.7 million.
Got it. Okay, and I guess this is more a question for the board, which is were we expecting 1.3 more from in state aid, and do we know why we didn't get it?
In part, it was due to, the large part of that was due to capital projects, building aid that we had anticipated for projects that we expected to close out during the fiscal year or prior to the fiscal year to generate state aid. Those projects, we were not able to close them out in time due to various reasons. So we didn't get that aid. Some of the state aid was also due to enrollment decline.
All right, thank you. And so after those projects are done, will we expect to see more state aid in the future from that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mrs. Day, you had a question?
Yes, I have two questions. My first one is
In regard to what?
external auditor just mentioned about the 21-22 anticipated balance of utilizing the cushion in the reserve funds. We anticipated a 2.4 million use, right? We would need 2.4 million that would have needed to be pulled out of the reserve to kind of balance the 21-22 fiscal year budget. But we only utilized 1.7 million of that. What kind of like metrics do we use to help us determine what we might have to pull out? Because so kind of, I mean, there's a little under $1 million difference from what was anticipated that would have need to be used and what was actually used. So that's my first question. I don't know if you want to answer that first, and then I'll answer my second one afterwards.
Okay, so actually in the district's budget plan, the 2.4 million is it's appropriated fund balance. So the district also had planned to use reserves, which it did. Okay, $1,275,000 of reserves. The district used all but $23,000. Okay, so in addition to spending $1.25 million of reserves, your district ended up having to tap into your total fund balance to the tune of $1.7 billion. So net you spend an additional $500,000, right? Combined. Okay. So the focus here is the real decrease in total fund balance of $1.7 million, right? Because that's basically your savings account. You can look at the reserves in your fund balance as your savings account. You just have different pots, right? Vacation funds, college funds, home improvement funds. But overall, at some point, right, when you start dipping into them, now I used to have $18 million in my piggy banks. Now I'm down to $16 million. If the trend continues, right, then as we know, costs are rising. So revenues, your main revenues are property taxes and state aid, right? So, if the trend continues, if you keep, a school district keeps dipping into the total savings, the various reserves and the fund balance, and at some point, it might reach to a level where it's too low. Okay. Then when you reach that point, there are only two ways to balance the equation: revenue and spending. Either you generate more revenue, or you lower your costs, or you do a little bit of both. Okay. Your state aid, that's subject to the state's formula. Your property taxes, there's property tax cap in place. Even if there is a need, maybe down the road, to consider a potential piercing of tax cap, that's never easy. So the caution, and which I did mention as well, is to look at the spending and try to just be cognizant of the fact that yes, we have a budget plan to spend $2.4 million, and we ended up spending 1.7. Okay. So yeah, it seems like we have saved money, but the budget plan actually did materialize that you actually had to eat into your fund balance. I don't know if that answers your question.
And then my last question was, when you spoke of the rainy funds, you said we're currently at 3.5%, but the max amount is 4% that we can be at.
Right.
Can you is that based on just what's in reserves or the total fiscal year budget?
So it's actually neither, right? So in the, what I was referring to, the rainy day funds, it's what the press likes to refer to, especially when they discuss state comptroller's audit report. The rainy day funds means that it's all part of your total savings, that is your fund balance, okay? But they are restricted reserves. School districts are allowed to set up restricted reserves for specific purposes. And you have a handful of these reserves for specific purposes. And then everything else other than that are considered unrestricted money, okay? With the unrestricted money, a school board can decide to earmark some of it to what's balanced in next year's budget, which is the $2.4 million. Once you earmark that, even though it's unrestricted, you kind of forget about it and see what happens next year, okay? So then what's left is this rainy day funds that I was talking about. It's called unassigned fund balance officially, used to be called unappropriated fund balance. And that's the number that's being measured, that's limited by state law to no more than 4% of next year's budget. So every year that you do this calculation, what is my 4%? What is my 4%? My 4% number is X. Well, this year, after the operating results, your district's rainy day funds, the unassigned fund balance, unappropriated fund balance, ended up being 3.5% of next year's budget. Okay, so it's actually, you're in compliance with law, but it's also not at the 4% where most school districts try to be at.
Okay, so it's of the full year's balance.
Right.
Alan, thank you very much for your presentation, as always. See you in July. Well, they'll see you before that.
Yes.
We will see you in July.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Al.
Have a good evening. Get home safe.
Thank you.
Any motion to move on, to move dockets 2-173 through 2-178. Speak.
So move.
Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Report of committees, there's no Board of Education report. PTA, PTSA, and SEPTA. Mr. Mercado, I do see you on the virtual audience. I know that you're the PTA rep for tonight, if you want to unmute yourself.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me all right there?
Yes, thank you, Ed.
Wonderful, great. I have 11 quick points to make for the PTA update for this month. I'm going to make myself brief and engaging. Photo day took place. Proofs should have been sent home in your children's folders. If you didn't receive them, you can contact the PTA for instructions on viewing and ordering them online. If you are unhappy with your proofs, you can have your children's photos retaken on December 2nd. Retake day is December 2nd. Meadow Farms fundraiser has ended. Orders will be delivered by the first week of December. Spiritware shipments are coming in. They should be going home with your children this week. World's Finest Chocolate fundraiser is still ongoing. The boxes are $60 cash or online purchase. You buy the entire box for $60 and you sell the chocolate on your own. The Holiday Boutique is returning this year. I've got an exclamation point here, so that's very exciting. Information is going to be sent home in your children's folder very soon. For all of you 6th grade parents, please start looking for photos. Flyers are going to be coming in for submitting your children's photos very soon. Reflections. The theme for this upcoming Reflections is Show Your Voice. Submissions are due on November 18th. Eric's Reptile Show. I'm sure a lot of your kids have already talked about it. Eric's Reptile Show visited all 3 schools. The children had a great time learning about it and interacting with the reptiles. Membership, PTA membership. Please sign up if you haven't signed up already. There are many benefits to joining the PTA, including helping and supporting your children. Please sign up and join the PTA. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Visit our website, wepta.memberhub.com, WHEPTA.memberhub.com. And last and certainly not least, our next in-person meeting is November 28th, 7:30 p.m., Cornwell Avenue Cafe. Please come to the cafeteria, 7:30 p.m., November 28th. We love seeing everybody's faces at our meetings.
That was the greatest presentation ever.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm gonna fire myself. Let him come do this. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Brancato. I hope everybody got that information. And again, the next PTA meeting is on November 28th. It's a Monday in the Cornwell Avenue cafeteria. Please come out and hear about what's going on in the elementary PTA. I see no PTSA and/or SEPTA reps in the audience at this time. And I'm going to keep the joke to myself, but I do understand that our smallest representative here is giving our student report.
Wow.
Wow, that'd be me. So Student Council held their annual Halloween party on Friday, October 28th for the kids in the community. We had over 100 kids participate in various Halloween themed STEM activities. Please see our Instagram for pictures and videos from the event. Thank you all who participated. Key Club. Each year, the Key Club provides Thanksgiving dinners for families in the West Hempstead community. We are still accepting donations until this Thursday. You could drop off donations at any of the buildings district-wide during regular school hours. Thursday, November 17th is Food Packaging Day. We are asking all students and staff to show their support by wearing your Key Club t-shirts or West Hempstead Rams gear to school that day. As always, we are so appreciative of all the donations. In terms of athletics, the conference for championship football game featuring our West Hempstead Rams versus North Shore will take place this Friday, November 18th at 4 p.m. at Hofstra University. Tickets will be $11 each. You could purchase tickets, children under 12 years old. You do not need to purchase a ticket online. See school website for the link to purchase tickets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Plummer. Mr. Reedman, Superintendent's report. I'm going in the order of the newspaper.
I'm following your meeting. I'll go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Happy Thanksgiving. Since we are in the season of being thankful, chance to walk most of the buildings the last couple of days, and just like to talk a little bit about each building and what we should be thankful for at this stage of the year. Chestnut has seen a nice explosion, we might say, in letter sound and word recognition, as well as developing a conceptual understanding of number. Pre-K students are establishing routines and learning through play. They are absolutely adorable. And just want to put a little plug in, even though the educator's coming home. Our UPK interest survey is live and well. We have over 40 people already, which means we still could use another 40 plus. Wouldn't even need a lottery. We hit the exact number, but we're hoping to fill every seat. We are thankful for the learning which is occurring daily. I appreciate and love how teachers at Cornwell Avenue are gradually releasing responsibility through small group instruction, allowing students to take ownership of their learning. We need our young learners to have both a strong foundation in the basics, but also experience the joys of producing mental sweat with an adult close, but not always in charge. Thinking and writing that is occurring throughout George Washington is something to be thankful for this season. Ms. Noddy shared with me, I won't read it because I don't think it's appropriate to read in public, but a student created a piece of writing that, well, it would strike you right in the heart. And it was well written, and it just speaks to the work that we've been doing and that we continue to do. We know in terms of what gets put in Newsday, those numbers are not where we want to be yet. We will be there. but to see the work that is going on through the dedicated efforts of the students, the staff, and the administration, it's something truly to be proud of. But we also have, we like to dub the Bugatti Science Program in the nation, Amplify Science, as well as Math Investigations. And students continually talk to me about being scientists and mathematicians. And his name just escaped me. I think his name might have been Jaden. I could be wrong. But he grabbed me in the hallway and he gave me a whole lecture on plate tectonics and volcanoes. And it was in the middle of the hallway, random, but he was so excited to talk about that. And to see the joy in his face. You know, we talk about an education, I speak, you know, how do you handle discipline? You don't have discipline when kids are joyful. You don't have discipline issues when kids are engaged in the process, right? And these kids, it's just so much fun to watch. So they're using appropriate academic vocabulary. They're presenting their ideas and solutions to their classmates for peer review and examination. So I'm very thankful for what is going on at the pre-K to 6 level, and which makes the lives of, I guess, stay with the theme of the small people, at the secondary level. I'm just the boss at it, you know.
Once.
And we're going to start off with something very exciting this week, and please attend. Here, there's 2 days, Thursday and Friday. The 7th and 8th grade, you can repeat it. The 7th and 8th grade play or performance is later this week. That's all I'll say. So you could, we could tell them where it is, what time it starts. Apparently the football team's doing pretty well. I don't know if anyone's talked about it or mentioned it. So I'm but I don't like football, but
You don't really see Joe. He's
very impressed. Mr. Margaracci has put a tent up at Hofstra. He's been sleeping in the parking lot to be the first one in the game. So he will definitely be there, and I'm sure he's going to have pom-pom. So we want to congratulate them so far and wish them well this Friday. But there are actually other sports and other great things going on. Our girls volleyball team made it to the semifinals. They lost to the eventual Nassau County champions. I'm not going to mention them by name. Well, we don't do that when we lose. But they were truly courageous and showed Ram pride and just came up a little bit short, but their energy and their excitement to play was palpable. We also had 4 state qualifiers in cross country, a sport that definitely goes unnoticed, but we are building a county competitive track program here and cross country program here. You're not aware of that. And it's something to be proud of. And there's more to come, but I'm going to save some of it for the next meeting, I think, because there's some great things going on. I want to thank Nick Benedetto, the coach, Colin Gray, the coach, Jacqueline Zorskus, the coach, ENL teacher, social studies teacher, and school counselor in their real lives. But us in particular, I also want to thank the student athletes who did qualify: Alex Santos Acosta, Justin Della Vandel, and the twins, as I like to call them. I have twins myself. Gloria and Victoria Guerriere. And they are not really cross-country ladies. They are really track ladies, and they made it to the States. So that is extremely exciting. I just want to thank the staff of the secondary school, the administration of the secondary school for their work so far. They are really working together and figuring things out. There are many obstacles whenever you take 2 buildings and put them together into one and try to make a new culture and a new beginning. But that's the beauty of it, and that's the work. We all have a chance to work together and get those things done. So I am quite proud to be just a educator in this district. I happen to be the superintendent. I want to thank all of you for the opportunity to serve. I want to thank all of you in the crowd for being a part of this Ram fam, as we like to say. There's some new members joining us. We have some new people getting tenure here in a few minutes who are wonderful additions to the family, as we like to say. So I will stop there. Since I talk too much, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I do want to mention one last thing. that exciting, but it's important, I think, and we posted this a week or two ago. Please remember, the flu is horrible this year. It's doubled in a week. RSV is a thing for younger children, so please be safe with them. And I know we don't like to talk about the last thing, but COVID is real. Contrary to what anybody else thinks, it's there. It's like the flu. People are getting sick. So we just have to remember, please, if you're sick, stay home, wash your hands, do all the things our parents taught us when we were growing up. And let's just remember, we have to take care of one another so that we can all be successful. So, stop there. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I now turn it over to Mr. Press and his, I don't know if it's going to be enthusiastic or engaging, but we will see his tax rate presentations. Mr. Joel Press. I set the ball low so you can jump over.
I know, but I don't know, Joe and I were getting the short end of the stick. Oh, no pun intended.
Oh.
Wait, I'll take my boots off. I will admit it, I take my boots off, I'm shorter than you.
All right, thank you all for having me. I think this is the fourth time we've done this in 4 years. These presentations started out when the county really significantly changed their assessment on properties and people's tax rates just kind of bonkers. So we took that opportunity to present to the community and try to explain to the community that what the tax rate is and how it affects them and the things that do affect their tax rates and their taxes. Things have calmed down significantly since that first year, at least on the average. I know individual results may vary. So if at any point you have questions, stop and let me know. What makes up the tax rate? School tax levy is a part of it, total assessed value, properties in the district, and then these adjusted base proportions, we'll explain that as we go through. Nassau County has 4 classes of property, single family homes, which is the largest share in West Hempstead and in most towns across the county. Class 2 is co-ops and condos, class 3 is utilities, and class 4 is commercial. Adjusted base proportions, basically, if you think of the total tax pool as a pie, the county carves up that pie into different pieces. The class 1 is the largest piece of that pie. We'll go through, we'll talk about that a little bit. The 2 things that are highlighted in red, if you can see the red, are things that we have no control over. These are things that are set by Nassau County. So the county controls the assessed values, the county controls the adjusted base proportions. So we do this kind of very, very basic high-level example to explain the tax rate. If in our town we had 4 properties, they were all assessed at the same value, and we needed to collect $2,000 in property taxes, everyone would pay $50. The property taxes would all be $50 at the tax rate for $100. Right, as we go through, we say, okay, again, school tax is still $2,000 in the situation where the assessed value now has maybe gone down. Again, everyone's value the same, but $500. So your assessed value goes down. We still need to collect $2,000. But we're collecting at the tax rate then doubles to $100 per $100 of value, but everyone's still paying $500 in taxes. So assessed value goes down, tax rate goes up, but again, the situation, the taxes that are actually paid stay the same. In our scenario 3, where again, we're still collecting $2,000, but the assessed value of 2 of the properties has gone down based on our original example from $1,000 to $500, and then the 3rd and 4th property stayed at $1,000. So now you start to see some changes. The tax rate is increased by 1/3. And those homeowners whose assessed value went down, the taxes went down from $500. But those whose assessed value stayed the same, so same house, same assessed value, nothing has changed, they're actually paying more in tax. So this could be something that happens to individual taxpayers in the district if a bunch of people are grieving their taxes and some aren't. The people who aren't grieving their taxes may go up even though nothing has changed and they've done nothing to their homes. And that is something that we've, that I know has happened. We've seen that, so. So in reality, what does that look like here in West Hempstead? Again, we talked about the level of assessment. They take the value, the market value of your home, multiply it by a factor of 0.1%. That used to be 0.25%. When they changed it from 2.5, from 0.25 to 0.1, that's when everybody's assessment started a little bonkers and taxes started getting a little crazy. That's when we started getting a lot of phone calls about taxes going up. So this is West Hempstead. We're comparing the 21-22 taxable assessed value to 22-23. I'm going to focus on class 1 because those are the people I usually get the calls from, and that you probably hear from in the community, single family home buyers, homeowners. And again, it's the largest class of property in the district. So the assessed value went up by about 238,000. This is total assessed value class 1 throughout the entire district, went up about 13%. So that's important. Keep in mind, again, assessed value goes up. We talked about that. The tax rate goes down typically. Adjusted base proportions, again, this is the share of the pie. This is Nassau County dividing up the 100%. Class 1 properties went up 0.325%. You can see some of the other areas went down. Class 3 actually went up quite a bit this year, which is a little unusual. But again, now your increase in the adjusted base proportion affects your tax rate. So tax rate for class 1 properties actually went down. Remember we said when the assessed value goes up, the tax rate goes down. In this case, for class 1, the tax rate went down about 10%. Any questions on any of this so far? Making sense? Yeah. Here's what I'm following along.
Yeah.
Okay, Gavin. Excellent. My engagement, sir. It's engaging.
I love it.
So the average taxable value, again, this is as determined by the county for West Hempstead in class 1, it went up about 13%. From 350 to 396, your assessed value. And based on our calculations, the average tax paid for class 1 property went up about 1.89%. Now, if you recall, the budget for 22-23 increased the tax levy 1.5%. So that's part of this increase. The other part of it is, again, the adjusted base proportion, as we saw, went up about 0.32%. So that those two combined have an effect. So the increase on the average class 1 property is about $145. And again, if you recall, when we did our June presentation, we said the average tax rate would pay about $126 more a year. But again, with the adjustment of the adjusted base proportion, which we have no control over, the actual average tax is paid. Any of that? In there. Just some other things that could affect your individual or an individual property tax, an individual property owner's taxes. It's, again, we talked about the reassessment that happened, and there are some properties, and I don't know if there are any here, but I did get a call from a taxpayer who said their taxes went up 25%. And I said that was not us. Part of us, 25, but the rest of us, I don't know what happened. So, but reassessment had an impact. Again, if you grieved your taxes, that will have an impact. If you've done any work on your home, that will increase your assessment, increase your taxes. And then tax exemptions. We do encourage all county taxpayers to take advantage of all the exemptions that are available to them for firefighters, seniors, some veterans exemptions as well. So all of these things have an effect on individual property taxes. And this are exemptions. So yes.
I have a question regarding exemptions, due to like parochial schools and things like that. Like, for example, St. Thomas is now, renting out their property for charter school. Are they still, untaxable because of that, or can they be taxed now because they become a profit organization instead of a, school, religious school?
Yeah. You know what, it depends, like, if they are, because the charter school could be a not-for-profit. So,
Well, I mean, they're making money, you know, the diocese is making money off of this. Otherwise, it'd be an empty building. So they're making money. So how come, why would they be exempt? I don't understand that. And that goes for any parochial school that's,
sure,
you know, because we're getting bombarded with school properties that are coming off the tax roll, and I'm sure that affects the bottom
Yes.
line tremendously.
Yeah.
You know, every year it's increasing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentages are. It would be nice to probably see that, but nothing we can do about it anyhow.
yeah.
But in their case, I mean, I don't see why they're not paying taxes on that property. Can we
Well,
look
I'll
into
look
that?
into it. I wasn't aware that they were actually renting to.
Yeah, they're renting.
They're renting the school
To
yeah,
charter.
to,
Academy.
So now
to
it's
academy charter,
not a not-for-profit thing anymore.
unless they're not really making money and
It
they're.
doesn't
just
matter.
paying
They're,
them.
you know, they're using that money to fund, you know, the diocese. They're making money. Bottom line, it's not like a school. It's not like a school in our district, you know, that just got West Hempstead kids or anything like that. It's like if you rented out your house or something and you take yourself off the tax.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look into it. One thing to keep in mind is that charter schools are considered public.
Okay, I understand
Yeah.
that, but again, it's, just look into it.
Sure, yeah, no, well.
But the charter school is not owning the building, so it's,
Right.
so they're
Common
actually
to
renting
pay
it.
taxes on.
Well, I'll look
Although
into
they'll
it.
get away
We'll get
with
an
it
answer.
because it's nice, right?
That was my presentation.
So I have one question, only because at the beginning of all of this, you were just talking about the different classifications of homes and how they get assessed and whatnot. What will the ramifications be? And I know they're a long way off. On, say, the levy breakdown or whatever, when all these apartments are we anticipating that those are going to be pilot by the builders, or are we anticipating that we may actually get taxable income?
The way things go in Hudson County, I'm anticipating that's gonna be a pilot.
Pilot.
Yeah.
If I remember
Like-
correctly, they said it was a pilot.
Yeah.
Heatherwood or Greenwood or
It's
whatever
both.
said it was a pilot, that they applied for pilots
anticipating
and
pilots.
were planning on pilots.
I guess the question is, what's the taxable value right now? And what is the assessed value of those properties right now, what they're getting taxed on? So for
Right.
example, Liquidators is assessed at 5 million, and it's only getting taxed at that assessment. Build those as complexes, that assessed value is gonna go up by a lot.
Yeah, and so the changes there, they affect the overall, so if those properties get pulled out of class 2, or I guess it's commercial, out of class 4, then the assessed value of that property would probably get moved to class 2. Depending on how the county adjusts the adjusted base proportions, because it's based on the properties in those areas, so that would shift likely from class 4 to class 2. So in theory, it shouldn't impact class 1. Again, we set the levy, we collect the levy. Nassau County decides who pays how much of that levy. It could be generally when things come off of, so if there was a class 4 property that just became like a religious institution, came completely off the tax rolls, the adjustment would be in that category. But again, if they're pulling that off of the tax rolls and the county's looking at the taxable assessed value as a whole, they're gonna say, well, class 4 properties, represents, I forgot what the percentage was, a smaller percentage of the whole. It could have an impact in that way on class 1. Because if class 1 now is a larger percentage of the taxable properties in the district, then that adjusted base proportion goes up, and so the taxes paid from all class 1 to go up.
When a parochial school is building a building like what's going up on Hempstead Avenue, but they haven't built anything yet, are they still off the tax roll because they purchased the property?
I believe if the institution that owns the property is a religious institution, then it's,
Just because they own the property, you know, there's. All right.
Okay, Thank you, Mr. Presser. At this time, we've reached the period for district residents and or employees of the district to address the board. This individual will be limited to 3 minutes of non-confidential agenda items with an overall maximum of 20 minutes if needed. Just a reminder, if you're in the virtual audience and you have your hand raised and I call on you, please identify yourself prior to asking your question. If you're in the audience and I don't call you by name, that might mean I don't know it. I apologize. And also then please identify yourself before asking your question. So in the virtual audience, I see somebody with their hand up that says West Hempstead resident, meeting guest. So if you could unmute yourself, identify yourself and then ask your question.
Sure. It's Aaron Zelig. Had just a quick question for you. So thank you for the presentation.
Wait, hold on
I
a
know
second. Mr. Zelig, you're cutting in and out. If you could come closer to your mic and maybe just speak up.
I'll put it on speaker. Is that better?
Better.
In the presentation before, it was raised that a drop in enrollment would cause a reduction in state aid. Do you have numbers related to that? So, for example, if we lost one student, how much that would cost, or how much that would reduce state aid?
I don't have those numbers with me.
Okay. Is that something you can look into or put
Yeah.
together?
Yes, I can.
Absolutely, we can get that information.
Okay, I asked just because I was looking at, I know we've talked about enrollment numbers dropping, and it seemed like year over year, the enrollments dropped another 81 students. From the numbers I received, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, it's possible these aren't correct, but it was 554 students, so we lost 81 students year over year.
Off the top of my head, I don't know. We'll check that now.
Okay. Yeah, it just sounds like a large number. And then just looking back from 2019 through 2022, in 2019, the number I was given was 1,759 students. So now it looks like we're down to 1,554, which would be a drop of 205 students or 12%. It seems like a pretty big drop in 3 years. It sounds like it makes sense at this point. I know we've talked about it. When was the last enrollment study done? And are there plans to do a new study? Because it sounds like, the numbers are trending down, which is unfortunate.
We've had that conversation in the past, and we have stated that we would look into doing a new enrollment study.
Okay. Yeah, I know I've been asking this for like 3 years. So I was just wondering if there's been any progress.
Okay, and also the numbers that you have as far as enrollment go are incorrect.
As of today in Power School, which is our management system, district-wide, every student accounted for is 1,865.
Okay. I mean, I got these from the clerk. I guess I'll go back and just see, what's the difference in the numbers, but I guess I can go back to the clerk. But overall, I guess, what do you show that versus last year?
I'm sorry?
What's that number versus the last year number? So 1,865, what was the number last year?
Off the top of my head, I don't have that information in front of me. That's stuff we have to look up in the computer. Let me see if I can get it from.
Karen, was this the last year of our students?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
graduating,
But like not,
no, in graduating class.
yeah, but I'm saying
But
there's
he,
like no.
he mentioned 2019. So that's why I was just wondering.
Yeah.
No, that was 3 or 4 years ago.
Mr. Zelig, if we get that answer in a few minutes, we'll just announce it for you, all
Okay.
right?
Yeah, no
Okay.
problem. Yeah, it just seems like it makes sense to do an enrollment study based on
No,
how things are.
no
going.
problem.
We heard you. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Mr. Hegula.
District residents and parents. The pilot programs, how much do we lose on those? So we have.
Pilot in lieu of tax,
Yeah,
payment in lieu of
payment in lieu
tax.
of tax. So we have liquidators, we have the new development that went up on the courtesy was, now they're talking about the same thing at Western Beef. Do we get any of that money, or is that just Nassau County takes it all and we get upkicks?
No, we get the pilot money when there is a pilot. It's similar to taxes that it gets distributed, property taxes. Most of it goes to schools in Nassau County. We get the pilot money. The amount of tax that's abated is about $800,000.
So seems like that's a whole lot less than what we would have gotten if we collected taxes on the actual buildings. Why
Yeah,
does anybody agree to that? Why does anybody in town agree to any kind of pilot program?
The county did that.
It's the county, yeah, the county does that.
It's like an incentive for them to build a property. The
In
county
the
gives them
county.
those, things, 5 years, 10 years, things like that.
They give them the tax
20
breaks.
years. Don't have any control of that.
it's supposed to be tied to job creation. Most of when there's a pilot, they say, okay, you're gonna create a certain number of jobs. Doesn't really happen so much when you do residential dwellings.
Okay.
When we get some, we get these, we don't get the full amount, right?
Yeah.
And does it compare like 60-40 with what we would have gotten just on the tax roll? 50-50?
I would bet not as much.
I mean, it changes over time,
Yeah.
The amount of the pilot versus the amount of the property tax. Will change over time. It's supposed to sort of fade out after a certain number of years, but what often happens is the county or the town will just renew the pilot.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Mr. Zelig, is your hand up because you have another question, or is it just still up?
It's just still up. I
Okay.
lowered my.
No,
hand.
no
Thank-
worries. I just didn't want to skip over you.
Thank you, that's appreciated.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. We have another period for residents to ask questions. At this point, I need a motion to move docket 2-179 through 2-180.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion to move docket 2-181.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
Right, so we have some great news to share at this time. I'm going to start with Miss Courtney Thompson. She might be in the virtual audience. I don't see her here in person. Anyone who's old enough live, but Memorex. Miss Courtney Thompson, she's currently a teaching assistant at North Washington School, 6th grade ICT model for the past 4 years. I had the chance to sit in one of her classes. They happened to be stellar library, but they were working on a coding project. And quite honestly, if you walked in the room, you wouldn't know who was teaching, who was the teaching assistant, who was the aide. Quite honestly, with that group of adults, it was quite wonderful to watch. Ms. Perlow, the Stellar teacher, was leading it, but Ms. Thompson was actively involved. And, as a teaching assistant, you would work with certain children, but she made it a point to work with all children and connect with them and knew them. And when we had a chance to have a brief conversation, she proved, not proved, but she showed her professionalism and her care for our students. And she's being recommended for tenure by Ms. Karras, Ms. Nadi, Ms. Riley, and me. I just want to congratulate her if she's here. If not, Ms. Nadi will take care of that tomorrow. Next up, I'll just call him Mr. Pumo, put Ms. Rivera in the corner. I'm not really sure why, because she is one of the stars here in our district, the school counselor. at the secondary school. She joined us mid-year of 2018, if my thinking is correct. She's a very valuable member of our team. She does everything. For example, seventh grade orientation. She creates these incredible presentations for our students to get acclimated to our school environment. I know she's had important voice here in the shaping of our new secondary school. I know she's done a lot of work with students around video creations, so to put the students in charge and take ownership of their learning and actually share that with their classmates. She loves salad. I wasn't going to say that, but I couldn't help it. She loves a good salad. We talk a lot about exercise and eating right. And I think that I say that in jest because we go back and forth about the, well, really I go. She doesn't say too much. But she's a model for students, what we want, right? And that speaks volumes to who she is. Volunteers all the time. I'm sure she'll be helping out again at the Thanksgiving food drive. Winthrop, the NYU Langone Winthrop partnership we have for the holidays. She just engaging with the kids, and a pleasure to have very intended to at this time. Congratulations. And last on the tenure list this evening, Ms. Patricia Bologna is being joined by our Director of Humanities, Dr. Jenny Yee, or Jenny Yee, she's not say she's the director. I mean a doctor, but she is, and she earned it. But Ms. Bologna, I'm going to say something, and please don't be offended if I say her. She's 22, 23, right? But she has the energy of like a young kid, maybe a GW or Cornwall Avenue. She's like the Energizer Bunny with the students. Always smiling, always affable. A little loud, but you know, I was a same mother, so we know all about that stuff. But loud in a good way. The day I walked into her room to see her tenure observation, there are the kids taking complete control of the lesson, not Miss Bologna, right? And they're doing these presentations on authentic topics. I really wish that we could figure out a way to have them implement these ideas, and they were doing it in Italian. And there was 2 kids, I could be wrong on the number, who she worked with, let's call it tutored maybe. And they actually were able to move up a level. That was 4, if I'm not right.
2 to 4,
To
yeah,
level 4, and they went from 2 to 4 because of the work she did. She is at the forefront of the Sealed by Literacy program in supporting our students. And if you don't know about that program, and I could have the numbers wrong, so I apologize, boss. We started with 1 student in year 1 achieving the Sealed by Literacy. And if you don't know what that is briefly, it's a seal that gets added to your diploma for the work that you do. And it's a series of different accomplishments throughout your high school career, secondary school career. And part of it is presenting to adults in the school. And Ms. Bologna helps them with the research, supports them, and then evaluates them. So we had 1 student year 1, 13 or 11 to 13, 14 in year 2. And this past year we had over 20, I think 23, right? And we're shooting for the moon this year, maybe 40, 45. If we're really lucky, pull it off, maybe 50. And that's all in a short period of time, right? And that speaks to Ms. Bologna and the love of what she does. And I know she loves this school district. She tells me all the time. She wouldn't have to tell you. If you know Ms. Bologna, you know just by the work she does daily, and how happy she is to be here. And you know, I can go on and on about all these people, Stacy to Courtney. But that's what we want, and this is the culture we're building, right? You talk about the theme this year's Graham culture, and the Pat and Stacy and Courtney embody Graham culture, right? And they're all different, and that's what we want too. We want all these differences, because when you look into our student body, they're all different, and they present in a different way, but they're all very caring students. Pat, congratulations to you, and we're quite happy to have you as part of the program. Stacy, same to you. Courtney, same to you. Thank you, everybody.
At this time, we need a motion to move docket 2-182.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
I would like to welcome the newest member of the Ram fam, our new Director of Facilities, Mr. Peter Mayo, who brought his family here with them tonight. His son, I must thought, his wife is obviously the bedrock of the family. She met her tonight, but in my 30 seconds I had a chance to speak to her, we know she's doing a wonderful job raising both of them. His son is a senior, right? Attending another school district. I'll say it. He goes to MEPA. I'm not gonna- He's working hard. Two-sport athlete and looking at some really great colleges. And that just speaks to Mr. Mayo, his dedication to his family, but also the dedication I've seen. And it's been 2 days, so it's not fair to say, but in 2 days, he's made changes already. In 2 days, we've gotten work done. In 2 days, things have changed. 2 days. Again, speaks to the culture, right? Again, very even keeled, we'll say, demeanor. We try to make him laugh a little bit. We're a little loud in central office because we like to laugh, because we work hard and long days. But we'll break him in. But he's met his entire staff already. He's set up meetings already. He's gotten contractors to come in and finish work. I come in this morning, I'm walking through the pre-K. We need 2 outlets done for the new doors to keep our children safe. Boom, done. By 9 o'clock, 9:30, done. So, so far, great. Turns out he's a local guy, so he knows West Hempstead. His father was a coach. His wife's an educator. I'm not talking about them. They're in a local school district because we're trying to compete against you guys. But not nice. I talked about that. We love everybody. We just want to beat everybody and everything. And what?
It's not always about winning.
No, it's about winning. It's about our kids reaching their potential. That's what winning means in there. Like your eyes about winning. Anyway, getting back to Mr. Mayo, I think that he we have a connection. I actually. Peter, growing up, played baseball for the Long Ties. I played for the Bayside Yankees. We were better, but that's a different story. I played with his cousin, who is a firefighter in Rhode Island. I was going to say New Hampshire. In Rhode Island, so we have that connection there that we didn't know about. So I know what kind of character he has. And honestly, those are the people we want to work with. We want people who, like Peter, engage people who will listen and understand what they want and support them, but at the same time have high expectations and high demand for what we do on a daily basis. Because we will all put this place on the map that it deserves to be in. And here's another addition to that team. So welcome, sir, and we're glad to.
Good now.
Yeah, I think
I need a motion to move docket 2-183 through 2-189. Any questions?
No.
I'm talking. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. I need a motion to move dockets 2-190 through 2-199.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We have no old business, new business. I need a motion to move dockets 2-200 through 2-206.
So moved.
Second. Sorry, Joe.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's passed. What privilege of the floor? This is not. Oh,
No, I do. I just want, it speaks to Mr. Mayo. To Mr. Mayo's left, if you don't see it, are two of our fine grounds crew, James Stanton, in charge of the crew, Mr. Dan Hamilton. They came here and stayed here tonight to represent, I believe, Mr. Mayo. We're gonna run with that now. And
Or they would get
Report it.
back on the air or something.
Right.
No.
but they're 2 days in, and this is the kind of culture he's created.
Say before. All right.
We're very pleased so far.
For 2 days.
Two great.
Two great days.
Not saying anymore.
Okay, so that being said, just a reminder again that the varsity football team
What?
playing on Friday at 4 p.m. at Hofstra
Who's playing?
against North Shore, varsity
The
football,
varsity football team is playing what? Is
playing
it,
football.
what, is it a championship game?
First time in
Like,
36 years.
First
First
time
time
in
in
36
I
years,
didn't
that's
know
right.
that.
And
First time-
the
really?
coach, the
First time in
assistant
36
coach
years.
that's
Ram
coaching them
fam.
was on that team.
Yeah.
Let's just
Go
not
watch
forget
your
that.
boys play. They're playing their hearts out there.
They-
Incredible.
Okay. Anybody have a gong? As Mr. Pumo stated earlier, it's $11. You need to pay in advance. There is a link on the website, and on social media through the school district website. There is, although they do say they're not going to take money at the game, they will not take cash at the game, but the QR code is there. You can pay for your ticket, when you get there if you forget, and you can just pay for it and then show them at the gate and come through. Again, 4 p.m. on Friday at Hofstra. At least it's not the night game because it's going to be real cold at night. And if you are bored during the day and you have nothing to do, you can go see Mr. Magaracci, who'll be in a tent in the parking lot at about 10 in the morning. So,
Game is
for
also being
tomorrow.
live- The game is also being live
Yes.
streamed.
but you do have to pay for it. It's, I think, also $11.
Yeah, it's $11, but
Something
you
like
just
that.
can't get subscription right after the game.
Anyway, in addition to also what Mr. Pumo said, the 7th and 8th, and Mr. Raymond said, the 7th and 8th grade play is Thursday and Friday, I believe at 7 p.m., correct? In the auditorium. If you're attending the 7th and 8th grade play, this leads into my next statement. Just a reminder, that performance is free, but we do ask that you bring a non-perishable food item or food items for the Thanksgiving food drive. So, shameless plug for the Thanksgiving food drive. We are still collecting food for, the Thanksgiving food drive. We are asking for non-perishable items to be delivered to the buildings by Wednesday this afternoon. Obviously, we will take any food Thursday and Friday at the plays. And after that, if it comes in, and we will put it in the food pantry. Anybody that would like to donate, we are delivering to 27 families this year as of right now. Anybody that would like to donate to a single family and prepare a package for a single family, please reach out. You can either reach out to myself, you can reach out to Ms. Rosulaga, who is handling Heat Club this year. And just let us know if you are interested in donating a completed package from either your organization or yourselves. It needs to be here in the building, in the main office by Monday, the 21st at 12 noon. So please make sure that you let us know, though, that you're doing that, so we don't count to have to package for another family. Again, this year, I know I've said it the last 2 meetings and at a few of the other meetings. Again, this year, we were very, very lucky to have all the turkeys donated by an organization that was created by a woman who lost her son to a drug overdose. She has a charitable foundation in his name, and she has the last 4 years, I think it is, donated all the turkeys for this food drive. She doesn't even live in West Hempstead. She doesn't even live in New York. She happens to be a connection through a friend of hers, and she goes out of her way to do this for us every year. And I want to thank again Carrie Toth and her organization for her generosity for that. I also want to thank again, when I'll do this in December as well, Winthrop NYU Langone for assisting us and partnering with us in regard to donations for Christmas gifts for certain families this year again. For the, excuse me, not Christmas, holiday gifts. I do that every time, sorry. And, our next meetings are here, December 6th and December 15th. December 6th is a policy meeting. December 15th will be the regular business meeting. Both meetings will take place at 7:30 in the video conference room. And I want to wish on behalf of the board a wonderful Thanksgiving to everybody. Please be safe. And I hope your pants fit in. Because I know most of us don't. Well, listen, we eat a lot on Thanksgiving. It happens. All right, so that being said, I need to go into a period for district residents and employees of the district to address the board. This individual will be limited to 3 minutes of non-confidential agenda items with an overall maximum of 20 minutes if needed. Mr. Zeller, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so just quick one. It sounded, I couldn't tell who it was. It sounded like Mr. Reeman was saying that 1850 was enrollment. I just quickly looked on the NYSED website. And if we get paid for a state aid per student, if it's wrong, I mean, it says 1635 on there as of 2021. So either it went up by 215 and we could get aid for another 215 students, or if someone could just look into that.
Okay, we'll take a look at it. Thank you. That was on the NYSED website?
Yep, on the NYSED website.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
To Mrs. Day?
This is a very surface question, but is it possible that we could have someone from the PTA put the codes for the retakes online or something, because I can't.
Hold that thought. Mr. Brancato, are you still here? I'm gonna bet that he's not here. What I would tell you to do, only because we don't have any control over PTA or any of that stuff. If it's run by PTA, it gets done through that organization. Michelle Thomas.
Okay.
I would reach out to Michelle Thomas and ask her to, if she wants to put them on the district website, I'm sure we can post a link to the PTA page that has that
Yeah,
information.
it's just because the initial pictures that were taken are coming up when you go on the website. So I don't know if it's just, if it's a different code. For
retakes. Yeah, I would get in touch with either Michelle Thomas or Mr. Brancato or one of them.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Do we have, Mr. Zelig, is your hand still up or up again? Okay, I'm gonna go with it's still up. Do we have any other questions in the audience? Mr. Hakila?
Yeah, Keil, still a district resident.
It's been a long meeting. You might not be.
Eighth grade graduation. Needless to say, many parents and students are disappointed that there's no eighth grade graduation noted on the district calendar. And looking around this room, I'm going to say that we all probably had an eighth grade graduation. So we're kind of curious why we're taking it away from this year's eighth grade grads, and have a conversation about how we can get that put back on the calendar for this year. Because there's already a petition circulating with the kids that they want graduation. And there's going to be one circulating with the parents too, that so that it's a rite of passage. I know it's one building, but it's really not one school. I mean, you have middle school, you have the high school, they're separated. And going from eighth grade to ninth grade is always a big deal.
Something that can be discussed amongst the administration and the secondary school administration. I know that this came up at a PTSA meeting at one point, and I guess Mr. Pumo and Mr. Raymond can have a conversation in regards to that.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Mr. Hamilton?
Actually, it's just a comment. I just want to say, after spending our time, not to beat a dead horse, no offense, but after spending time with our new facilities director, we were so pleased. We were actually inspired to come here, and after 2 years of working at this wonderful district, I'm sorry that I haven't come to one of these meetings before, but now I'm inspired. And a hat tip to Mr. Reeman and our board and administrators for bringing this beacon of light into our lives. I came, back home, got another cup of coffee and came here to say that. But we're really excited moving forward. We had a great meeting. We had a great meeting today, and a lot of sharing of ideas. Wasted no time in giving us his leadership and ideals and vision, and we were all inspired. Truly and sincerely. I don't say a lot of sincere things. I do feel that. And that, so anyway, I had to.
Thank you very
That's
much,
what this
Mr.
is.
Hamilton. It was very nice to hear. And Mr. Mayo, you should be very happy to hear that your employees are enjoying your company after 2 days.
It's still fresh.
Exactly. I was gonna say, come back to me in a month. That being said, again, on behalf of the board and the district, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and we will see you back here in December. For those of you that I'll see next week at Thanksgiving food drive, I'll see you next week. At this point, I need a motion to move into executive session for advice of counsel and to discuss personnel. Second. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
We all spend.